kind of why James Harden says he can't score 30 points per game. This to me is a situation I look at when it comes to James Harden, when it comes to these NBA players, especially when it comes to points per game. I mean, if we even look at, the points per game of some of these players, it's down right now. Like, I think currently, I believe James Harden and Damian Lillard are way down in points per game. They're kind of at the bottom tier. I was wrong about Climate Pledge Arena. I went to the Kraken game last night, and the inside arena is super nice. Yeah, man, the inside is super nice. They definitely did a great job in there. But you're distracting me from this reading, so let me continue on to kind of proceed to give you the news here on The Charge. Again, why James Harden can't score 30 points. So net star, James Harden is not looking like the typical player we knew him as the previous season. The team knows it, Coach Steve Nash knows it, and more importantly, Harden himself knows it. After a loss to the Miami Heat on Wednesday, the 32-year-old conceded that he won't be able to reach the form in a while. As much as I want to get back to the 30 and 40 points a game, I can't do that. As much as I want to. Obviously would love to. I had no opportunities to play pickup or nothing this summer. Everything was rehab for 3 months from a grade 2 injury that happened 3 times in one season. This is my 5th, 6th game of trying to play with competition and playing against somebody else. As much as I want to rush the process, be back to hooping and killing, nah, I'll take time. This also goes to make me stronger at the end of the season. I embrace moments like this and keep can push through it. I'm finally slowly getting back to it. It's going to happen, but you just have to continue to fight, and I will. In the game, James Harden scored 14 points while grabbing 7 boards and dishing out 7 assists in the process. He also got to the free throw line 3 times, but turned over the ball 4 times. In the post-game conference, head coach Steve Nash spoke on the glimpse of old Harden. However, he still knows it's going to take some time for him to do that. James Harden is showing signs of getting his rhythm back. Like I keep saying, it's not an easy process. It takes some time. He definitely has some incredible stretches tonight to build on. I kind of want to show you a picture of James Harden of what he looked like when he was, and I want to specifically talk about more so his shape and what's going on with that, because I feel like that to me is the biggest issue with James Harden currently. Right now, what I'm noticing with James Harden, more so than anything else, is that ever since he gained that weight to make his trade out of Houston, he has not been the same player. And anyone that could tell you whether you've been 20 or 30 pounds over your weight, of your playing weight, of what's comfortable, what makes it easy for you to avoid injuries, we know what James Harden was when he's in shape, right? When James Harden is in shape, he can dominate an NBA game. I understand the free throw stuff. We can talk about that. We can have a conversation about that. But at the end of the day, James Harden is still out of shape. And to me, I always kind of question what he's doing in the offseason. I understand you need to rehab. You obviously have some injuries. Some stuff comes up. But the problem is that because you gained that weight to make that trade, you don't have to work your butt off to get that weight off. And I just don't believe that he's done that to this point. Like, we look at James Harden, and I kind of want to show you an image of him now, currently, and it's kind of like, this dude is still not in shape compared to where he was, a couple years back when he was winning MVPs, right? That, to me, is the frustrating part about basketball players and what they need to understand. Like, we look at here of James Harden right now. This James Harden, compared to this James Harden, is a completely different player. And I wish players would understand that. Like, look, a lot of us have our vices, right? Whether, some people it's alcohol, some people it's food, especially when it comes to the weight gaining stuff. Stress definitely does play a part into it. But the problem is that when you have a James Harden that looks like this, and then a James Harden that looks like this, there's a huge issue here, guys. Harden more like that. What's up, Pete? How you doing, man? And Pete, I when we get back to talking on the show, I think we scheduled something sometime next week, and I do want to talk to you about your boy Evan Mobley, because I know you're big on him, and I wasn't as much. So we'll do a where Bernie was right, where Bernie was wrong, and where P-Lo was right, where P-Lo was wrong. But you look at the difference between James Harden's body type there and where he was at right now. Like I said, it's a frustrating thing to see as a coach myself. I'm not, coaching NBA players. I'm coaching high school players. So it's a lot different, obviously. But still, as someone that, wants to achieve the best, right now, Harden is not doing that. And I just believe that without, Kyrie Irving there, and we can kind of get back to Kyrie Irving. To me, I believe that they're missing Kyrie Irving hella in this offense. I understand they won tonight. You know, James Harden, if we look at the stats for tonight's game, of course, I'm recording this, October 29th, the Friday, and we can kind of look at the box score of this Pacers game. I know Sean was very upset with the score. But let's look at the box score of James Harden and what he did in tonight's game. He literally, let's see here. He was 5 for 11. 3 of 6 from three-point land, and ended up with 19 free throws. Like, even Kevin Durant doesn't get that many calls. You would expect a guy like Kevin Durant to get at least 10 to 12 free throws a game. Meanwhile, James Harden gets, 16 to 19. And let's kind of move on to that part of it, and then we'll kind of circle it all back together to kind of show you what I'm talking about here. And we'll look at this Marca.com article as well. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to James Harden, and then we can kind of go into this video. Hopefully it doesn't... I'll mute this, but look at this. Look at him trying to draw the foul here in this sequence here, right? We can look at it right here, see James Harden visibly upset. And again, everybody, defenders don't really have that much kind of cushion. They don't really have that many, I would say, kind of protections as it comes to the offensive players where they have a lot of protections. They're, a little bump and it's a foul, right? But, the arm bar is kind of like a deterror from, trying to stop a guy from going to the hole, right? It's kind of like a call, not a call. It's kind of one of those things that is like an unspoken rule, right? But look at, I believe this Duarte with the arm bar. Again, we can see James Harden here scooping up under to get the arms of Duarte to then lock it up with the ball and then, manipulate the call to say that that's a foul. And, James Harden has been really good at that, and that's a skill that I think a lot of NBA players have picked up. We can talk about Trae Young a little bit. Trae Young's move is a little bit different than James Harden's move. Trae Young's is also a tricky one as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, what happened with him being fined $15K. But you can see here that James Harden's move is to, get underneath the arm bar, because there will be an arm bar, and try to scoop up his arm to then grab the ball. So then it's like, the guy's trying to manipulate it to look like he is reaching in to steal the ball. And again, it's an art, right? It is an art. But at the end of the day, it's something that a lot of people, including myself as a coach, including as an NBA fan, and I'm assuming you guys as well. Sorry, Siri just activated itself. But again, as an NBA fan, I'm sure you guys are also visibly frustrated with the fact that NBA players in the offense have been getting away with all that stuff. Another one that I kind of wanted to see here was this one right here. Again, he was visibly upset with that one. Again, tried to do the same move. Again, to me, it's like when you're off, usually, with people with their off arms, right? They're either swiping down or they're kind of having it here as like a guard. So that way, if a player does try to steal the ball, they're hitting that off arm first. And then it just makes it a very, makes it more of a foul. And to me, what's frustrating about James Harden is that he's blaming stuff, his injuries, things that are out of his, things that are in his control, right? Things that are in his control, he's complaining about. Or I should say that he's not really focusing on the big picture of that stuff, right? His weight. That's a huge issue. When he won the MVP, he came into the summer working out, getting in shape, and then all of a sudden, you see him now, and it's like, dude, you need to come into the season in shape. It's embarrassing every season, time after time. Not saying he doesn't put in the work, but he also has to get rid of some of the stuff that's creating this sort of extra weight gain so that every time he's coming like this in the offseason. This is unacceptable. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I want my money back. And talk about having to break bad habits. And you're all right, Pete. This is all about the refs. The changes are trying to ensure that the game is more fun to watch. It's a lot, less offensive oriented. A lot of players are trying to create this, foul, kind of draw it. Again, the classic pump fake, Guy jumps in the air, and then you're leaning in to kind of shoot the shot. Dwayne Wade made that famous, and I'll always credit him as to why this thing was very successful in the NBA. But again, like I said, my frustration between James Harden has always been this right here. This is his, I'm assuming, fat head, right? This is not a flattering picture of the flat head. Not like, again, I'm not trying to fat shame James Harden. What I'm saying is that James Harden, the reason why you're not putting up the points that you're used to putting up. I mean, again, we can go back to what I just looked at here in the stat sheet, right? Look at this. James Harden, 5 for 11, 3 for 6, 16 for 19 from the free throw line. I'm sorry, James. This is unacceptable. The reason why, I understand, he had 8 rebounds, 8 assists. That's the stuff that the team really needs him to do, because right now, it's only really him and KD that are really creating opportunities for other guys. I understand, Blake Griffin, 1 for 7 tonight. That should have been a loss, really. LaMarcus Aldridge actually played a pretty decent game. But again, like I said, my frustration with everything that's been going on right now in the NBA when it pertains to the Brooklyn Nets and why they're struggling right now in their conference is because I believe that James Harden is not taking care of his body. He's not taking care of what he needs to do. And it's leading to, I would say, a lot of frustration that's boiling over the fact that Kyrie's also not there. And I also want to relate this to Kyrie not being there as well. Whatever you think about him, it is what it is. They are missing him because no one else for this team is creating a lot of offense. You can say LaMarcus Aldridge is, it's kind of like a 6th man off the bench. But still, I do believe that they are struggling to kind of get some camaraderie, to get something to kind of band them together. And again, it is kind of a frustrating thing to see right now, as the Brooklyn Nets have probably, a lot of people, presumably, I said it as well, the presumptive MVP of the league in Kevin Durant. But again, Kevin Durant, 7 for 10 from the floor, 22 points. He's not scoring the 30 points per game like we're used to seeing. Not saying that, Kevin Durant needs to do that. Heck, I don't even need James Harden to be shooting that. But at the same time, like, you can't be asking for all these fouls each and every time. And we can go back to their games and look at kind of previous results, right? They're 3-3 right now. They're first in the Atlantic Division because I think the Atlantic Division is very, I think it's wide open this year, if I'm not mistaken. You have Boston, who's struggling. We can talk about them on a later stream. I'm very frustrated with them at the moment. I feel like it's very inefficient basketball currently with them. It's kind of the same problem with Brooklyn, right? It's very inefficient basketball, and you're asking your superstars to carry you. And not kind of relying on some of the other guys. With the fact that, to me, it's like when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, they have a little bit more firepower off the bench than the Celtics do. New York, on the other hand, playing very well. I actually really like them. They're actually proving to not just be a one-hit wonder. I know, Pete, I know you're going to say that, man. They're proven to not be a one-hit wonder. And then you got Philadelphia, who's dealing with the Ben Simmons situation. And Toronto, young team, rebuilding, they've got rid of Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. That era's gone, and now it's like Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, who's actually playing really well, kind of showing us why he should have been drafted at number 4. Jalen Suggs struggling. We can talk about that in another stream as well. And again, I don't want to talk about the standings more so, but let's talk about the other games. We can talk about the first game that they played together, right? We can look at the box score for both these guys, for all these guys, right? 6 of 16, 20 points, a minus 20. 4 for 4 from the free throw line. And then we can move on to the other game. Let's see here. We move on to the 76ers win where Doc Rivers basically cost them the game, I would say. That, to me, is the biggest thing. We can look at the box scores here, right? Again, James Harden, 7 for 17, 3 for 7, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, scored 20 points. Again, not an efficient night, but he still was able to get 20 points. And then, again, you go to the Hornets game that they just lost to LaMelo Ball and all them, and you look at the score for them in this game. James Harden, 6 of 16, 2 for 8, only 1 free throw, minus 15. And again, my biggest thing with James Harden right now is more so that the complaining about not getting the calls, about being frustrated with everything. And again, this Mara article could talk about it. Again, the physique is starting to become an issue I believe it is an issue. And I think that a lot of people aren't being truthful with James Harden when it comes to, dude, you're out of shape. And that's why you're struggling, right? Because your cardiovascular is probably not as good as it once was. Your strength, I don't know if and you may be still working out. Whether you're working out or not, your body shape right now is not something that is to be celebrated as an athlete, right? It frustrates me because it's one of those things where I loved what you did in the 2018. I mean, you took the Houston Rockets on your back, and then all of a sudden, it's like you're a completely different player once you got your MVP award, right? You felt cheated because I believe you lost to, Giannis that year. I'm not mistaken, or you lost to somebody. I can't remember who you lost to. You lost to somebody. Then you got your MVP back, and then now, to me, it's like you won the MVP, you won your individual award, and now you're back to being like, well, I can kind of chill in the offseason. I can go to the strip clubs. I can eat wings at the strip clubs. I can, hang out with Lil Baby and all them and kind of just do my thing. Hang out, go to Paris, do that stuff. You can do all that stuff. That's fine. And I criticize Ben Simmons for the same stuff. Playing video games, exotic cars. That's all fine and dandy. But at the same time, you also have to hold yourself accountable for when you're struggling in the NBA. And that's the reality of it, James Harden. I can read this from the article about Marca.com. NBA teams have gone back into work late, and this time this year, normal players see who aren't yet at their physical best off season. James Harden was last season appearing, and again, this is kind of last season. I'm trying to see if there's like a numbers don't lie. And again, you look at James Harden here. This is not the same James Harden again that was here. Like, this James Harden to me was built. He was in shape. He was ready to dominate the NBA and win an MVP award, and he did. And then you get to here, where James Harden right now is trying to look for fouls, trying to do a lot of different things. Again, trying to hook. Again, I'm all fine with you holding it out here so that way people can go underneath. But now you're doing the offensive foul where you're now trying to hook people, and now you're trying to create that contact and trying to manipulate it. Again, I'm all fine for you kind of going out with the ball here, as you pick it up, and then someone gets in there, and then you can go out and finish. That's fine. But my problem right now is just, the NBA is finally dealing with it in the appropriate situation. And again, it's just frustrating to see James Harden, just absolutely look basically just not into it right now. And I know he still has a lot of room to grow. I know there's a lot of stuff that he has to do, but at the same time, it is frustrating. Again, we look at it here with Bam Adebayo. Again, we watched this play a little earlier. Again, you could see there that he was trying to hook the left arm as he was driving right. He was trying to hook that left arm, trying to draw a foul, and that's just not going to cut it, guys. That is not going to cut it in the NBA at all. And again, I don't want to keep harping on this, but I had to address it tonight because I'm sick of watching James Harden do this for a guy that I respected, a guy that I really, didn't look up to, but, for a guy that I think a lot of people said, this guy's special, could be is a top NBA top 75 player, right? And absolutely just screwed the pooch here, right? He messed up here. He didn't do he didn't do his preseason workout stuff to get into shape, to, not rely on the free throw line. The thing is, the free throw line will come. That stuff comes to you. Where I feel like the game is now, I feel like a lot of people are now realizing that, the game comes easy when you're playing your game and doing your game. But when you're doing too much dribbling, too much back in and out, trying to do step backs and all the stuff, trying to draw the fouls and stuff like that, and you can no longer put your feet in a weird position to draw those fouls now. There's no kind of going into your guy and drawing a 3-pointer shot like that. I would say that to me, the NBA, I feel like is finally doing the right thing, but what worries me is what happened in tonight's game against the Pacers, which was James Harden, again, getting 19 free throws. And again, I didn't really watch the game too much. Ooh, great cross. Damn, KD, come on now. You look at this stuff here, and it's Um, you look at here, 16 for 19. Like that just can't happen in the NBA. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. This to me should never be acceptable ever. Like 19 free throws unless they're physically hurting this guy. I just don't understand how someone could almost get 20 free throws in a game. It makes no sense. And again, this to me is just like a lot of just refs, hearing James Harden complain, saying, okay, fine, we give in, we'll let you do it. I mean, they shot 23% from the 3-point line. Not saying that the Pacers were any better. This to me was an ugly game. It looked like 105-98. Definitely not to the standards of the Brooklyn Nets. Hell, the Indiana Pacers, not to the standards of them. 1 for 5 right now. As they head into the first week of the NBA really being intact. I wish they would stop doing that. And again, I just find it frustrating. So let me know in the comment section down below when this video's cut up, or let me know in the live chat if you are with me. What do you guys make of James Harden complaining? What do you make of James Harden right now? Do you believe that it's more so to do with him being out of shape and trying to get those calls, or do you believe that it's more so about him getting exposed by the refs because the refs aren't calling it? And another question I will say, do you think that James Harden complaining is going to lead to him getting those type of free throws again? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be curious to know what you guys think about what is going on with the Brooklyn Nets right now as well. But just that stuff with James Harden, it is frustrating to watch because, like I said, I respected him, but I can't respect the fact that he's complaining that he's not going to put up the numbers because the refs aren't giving him the calls. So again, let me know in the comment section down below.